Okay, so what I'm thinking is we'll do a fairly simple chase just to illustrate how a chase can be implemented on the fly, really, during a game. So the situation I'm going to throw at you two is that your characters, your investigators, they're in an old bookstore in a city next to a town square. And you've gone there to, because you've got a lead that there might be some interesting occult tomes in this shop. When ding-a-ling-a-ling, the doorbell rings, and you see this woman walking in. And as she heads towards the counter, and the shopkeeper greets her, and you recognize her voice. It's Sylvia Smith, the occultist who you were after only yesterday. As you turn, she sees you and she just flees from the shop. But you want to get her because we're kind of jumping in here. And she pulls, there's this trolley with a bunch of books on it. She just pulls that down in front of you and she's heading for the door, straight out into the street. So I'm going to take it that maybe you want to chase after her.
Quick, there she is. Let's get her.
After her, quickly.
Okay, we kind of want music now. Okay, so the first step in a chase, because here I would think, well, is this worth doing a chase for? In my keeper, in my head, I think, oh, actually, this does seem like it could be a chase. When I'm running the game, because I wouldn't have thought in advance, oh, I'm going to have a chase here in my prep, but suddenly it feels like a chase. So I would ask you both for a speed roll initially to establish what everybody's movement speed is. And this can cause a slight adjustment up and down to people's speed. So if you want to make it's a constitution roll. Sorry, constitution roll.
Yeah, I've got a con of 75 and I rolled 50, so I got a regular success.
And what is your standard movement speed, Mike?
Is 7. So because I got a regular success, that just stays a 7, doesn't it?
It does.
I have a con of 60 and I got a hard success with a roll of 21, and I have a movement of 8.
Okay, so your movement stays at 8. So if you get a success or a hard success, your movement speed stays the same. It's only if you get a fail or an extreme success that's going to change. So Sylvia is also on 8. So now we just now we just compare movement speeds. So if Nathan had failed his con roll, then you'd be on a movement speed of 7 and should be fast enough that she'd escape both of you. So there wouldn't be a chase because you'd just get to the door and she'd be gone. That would be it. That would be the end of the chase, essentially. Very quick. But it's tied, so the chase is on. So what I would now do as keeper, I'm gonna think, well, what's going on here? You two are in the shop, so just flicking over to my piece of paper, or in this digital age, my whiteboard. I'm just gonna put some dots down just to show the locations to represent who's where. So I'm just going to take a moment and do that. So here we'd have Mike, because I'm just going to put an M. Can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then that'll be the next location. So because Nathan is one move quicker. And here I'm going to put, this is the books that she knocked over. Here's the door. And then I'm going to put her out in the street. So this is I'm just going to put ST for street, and I'm going to put D for door here. And this is Sylvia out here.
I'm right in thinking, Paul, that with setting this up, the person that's fleeing, is at that location, and then we, the pursuers, start normally about two locations behind. Yeah.
That's right. So I'm cutting to the chase now, which is part 2 of the chase rules. So I've done it such that Sylvia has dashed out. She's in the street, and I've broken down the locations so that Sylvia is now just like 2 steps ahead of you. So as Nathan is heading for the door, I'm putting those books that I said she was pulling over, that stack of books on that trolley, in front of him as an obstacle.
Okay.
Are we all good with this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So let me just take your dexes again, because I failed to note those down. So Mike, your dex was
45.
45, and Nathan
65.
65, and she's on 60. Okay. So movements, actions. This is where we figure the number of movement actions you get. So Mike is the slowest character with a move of 7. So by default, he gets the 1 action. And both Nathan and Sylvia, we've both got, our movement speed is 1 higher than Mike's. So we'd get an additional movement action. So we both get 2.
And so if say Sylvia or myself were a 9, that person would then have 3, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's all compared to the slowest person, isn't it? Whoever you just
add 1.
subtract your speed, the slowest person's speed from yours, and the remainder is basically the additional actions you're going to get plus 1, basically.
Makes sense.
Exactly. So it'll be Nathan to act first, because it's just like combat, it goes in dex order. So Nathan, I'm going to say this pile of books on this trolley is strewn across the floor. Now, you could try and just like jump over it or like run over it, but it's pretty uneven. So what are you doing? Just describe what your character's action is here.
Well, we really need to catch this woman. So I think that Madame Blackstone is just going to try to run and leap over the strewn books and the book cart, hopefully kind of doing like one of those slide over the hoods, kind of jumps onto the cart kind of a deal, slide over it.
Okay, so are we putting that down to a jump roll? That sounds like you're more of a sliding.
I was hoping more of a dex roll, because I'm not a jumper.
That sounds fair, because it's okay. So you're not really leaping over it; you're kind of
just
negotiating.
Yeah,
that sounds fair. Let's go with the dex roll. So let's open it up with a straight dex roll for this, because it's.
So I managed to roll a 40 on that.
So you got a success.
Correct.
So that's 1 movement action, and that takes you onto. So you move forward to here. You've moved forward 1 location. So you're at the door. The door is you pull the door open. I'm not going to make that into an obstacle or a hazard. It's just a door. Just pull that open, and you can see her heading towards the traffic. So it's a broad pavement, and she's at the edge of the pavement or sidewalk, and she's about to head. She looks like she's going to run headlong through the traffic. And there's a market square the other side of the road. There's only like 2 lanes of traffic, but it's 2-way. So you've got another movement action. Potentially, you could catch up with her this round.
I'm going to try to barrel into her if I possibly could.
Okay, so you're not at, or so you can spend your movement action to reach the same location as her.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to run up to her.
Okay, so there's no obstacle here. There's no hazard. So you spend a movement action, and you are up level with Sylvia.
Excellent.
Okay. You don't have. So you were describing barreling into her, which would be an attack. Now, to launch an attack actually costs a movement action. So whilst you're getting there, that's kind of the end of your movement action. So you're getting there just as. This is all kind of happening at once, being abstracted here. So she's running. It's now her turn because she's on deck 60. So as you're getting to her, as I described, she's running through the traffic. Now, it's quite busy. So I am going to roll for her, and I'm going to make a dodge roll as she dodges and weaves through the traffic, trying not to get knocked down. So she's got a she's got a dodge of 45. So I'm going to roll that now. Oh, okay. She rolled 67. So in fact, as she's desperately trying to get away from you, and she is struck by a motorbike, a moped, as it's coming through the traffic. It knocks her down in the road. I'm going to roll to see. Well, I'm going to do 2 quick rolls. One for damage. I'm going to say it's just D6 because it's just a light motorbike. So obviously I wouldn't tell you this in the game, but she takes 2 hit points of damage. And more importantly, I'm going to see how much she's delayed. So generally when you fail a hazard like that, it's 1d3 movement actions that it takes up. Oh, and I've rolled a 5, so that's 3 movement actions. So she used her first movement action getting into the traffic. She got knocked down, and that's delayed her by 3 movement actions. She had 2 movement actions this round. So her first one was to go into the traffic. One of those 3 delays has reduced. So that means she's not going to be able to move during the next round at all. She's like knocked onto the ground and is kind of sprawling around. So let's just cut to Mike's action now, rather than saying what happens to the overall chase.
Okay.
So Mike, it would be you next.
I'm still in the bookstore. I don't know whether the books have been slightly cleared because the characters has rushed through. But I'm just gonna like dive over the top of these books. If there's anything like a barrier, I'm just gonna dive over the top through the doorway like a bullet. That's the.
Okay, I'm going to be kind to you, Mike, and give you the choice of a jump or a dex roll here.
I'm going to call for a dex roll because I've only got 20% in jump.
Yeah, so. I think that's fair because this is something like dex.
Well, I roll good and fail the roll of the dex, and I think I probably just go stumbling and slip on one of the books. It slips underneath my feet. I fall right over and roll into the doorway probably.
So in this instance, I don't think I'd be asking for a damage roll here, because this is down to me whether I ask for a damage roll here. If it were more complex, I would look on the other forms of damage table to see, but this is just falling over in a bookshop. So, but I would roll a D6 and just say that, Mike, you're sprawling around on the floor, and I've rolled a 6, so it'd be 3, that's like a D3. So it'd be 3 movement actions. So that's like the next 3 rounds. So actually, maybe what's happened is you've sort of fallen and you reached up, and like the whole bookcase came down on you, and you're just buried under a pile of books now. And the bookshop keeper's coming over and shouting and pulling hold of you,
poking above this kind of mound of books.
Yeah, and outside you can hear meh, 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 and whistles blowing and stuff like this. Now, cutting back to Madam. So that was the end of round 1. So cutting back to Madam Blackstone, Nathan, at the start of round 2, you can see her sprawling on the ground. The motorcyclist is he's also like skidded along the road. He's off his bike. The bike is partly on top of the cultist that you're chasing, Sylvia, and she's trying to get herself up.
Okay. So, I'm going to, being mindful of the traffic, hoping that it's kind of slowing down because of the accident that has happened. I'm going to try to run out and get to where Sylvia is. So my first movement action would be moving out into the location where Sylvia is. Correct?
Okay, I'm actually going to ask you for a luck roll here, because I think if you make your luck roll, the traffic has probably come to a halt because there's been an accident, right?
Right. And let's see what I get. No, I got a fumble on my luck roll.
It must be rush hour.
Yeah. Okay. Give me a spot hidden roll.
Okay. Let's see. I got a 94 on that one. So no.
Okay. I mean, it's perfectly fine. The traffic's all stopped, right? So you can just run over and grab her.
That's what I'm doing. I'm just running out there
You
to grab her.
You didn't spot that cyclist, did you? He's totally oblivious. You know, just totally oblivious to all this. He's got like a backpack on. He's like delivering something. He's not going to stop for an accident. There's other people that will take care of that. He's got a parcel to deliver. So so this is where you're trying to move to the next location, to where Sylvia is. This is where you're going to have to make what's going to be most appropriate here. I'm going to say I am going to ask for a dodge roll here. You just catch it out the corner of your eye at the very last moment. If you can dodge out the way, otherwise this cyclist is going to barrel into you.
Let's see, my dodge is 85, and I actually rolled an 80. So,
wow, you got a dodge of 85. You're a ninja.
Thank goodness I actually. This is one of the things that this character was built for, because she doesn't have any combat skills. So I wanted to make sure she could get out of the way of stuff. Okay,
well, do you want to tell me how you get to? Because nothing going to stop you getting to Sylvia now. Do you want to tell me how you deal with that cyclist? And
so I step off the curb, and I'm running, and just out of the corner of my eye, I see the cyclist coming towards me, and I am able to just quickly step back onto the curb as the cyclist goes by, and I can just feel the air just kind of right in front of my nose. I take a quick second to gather myself, and then continue back out, this time making sure that I check both ways before I cross the street to get out there.
Yeah. So there's going to be nothing stopping you, because we established last time that because of her accident, she had to sacrifice like the next 3 movement actions, which means she's not going to be able to move on this round. She's like really discombobulated and on the floor. So basically, there's nothing stopping you now actually getting there and grabbing hold of her. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say that which kind of brings the chase to an end. You know, you've caught her. Obviously, this could, she might decide to fight you, if you get into a fight or whatever, or maybe she's got a spell that she throws at you. This is kind of after the chase. That could lead to another chase, perhaps, but that would be the chase.
Okay.
That's one way it could go.
Very good.
Now,
sorry, good.
Go ahead, Nathan. Yeah.
So one of the things in a chase rules that I thought was kind of interesting and was the sudden obstacles rules, and finding out how those kind of affect, and also vehicle chase rules were something that I was very interested in as well.
Yeah. So I guess one thing I'd like to add there, is Sylvia, the fleeing NPC. I just took the roles quite honestly as they happen, and she got hit by a vehicle. But if she'd have managed to run across that street into the market square, I had kind of thought on a little bit as to where that would be going. And then, if she'd have successfully got across, you would have had to either decide to dash across and risk your life, through the traffic, or maybe sacrifice a couple of movement actions to get a bonus on the roll to get across safely. So it could well have gone on a bit longer. So
like, let's say if sacrificing a movement point on the roll across the street to say look both ways to make sure that there wasn't any traffic coming would then give me an additional bonus dice, but it would cost at the cost of 1 movement.
Yeah, so you were on the pavement and you had 2 movement actions for like round 2.
Correct.
So it would take 1 movement action to cross the road. But yeah, exactly. So what you just said, basically, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you think that we have time to go over like a car chase?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. If you're happy, Mike.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. I think what I was going to suggest, Paul, if you do a car chase, but you rather than you think of what comes next, why don't you use the random table just to show that you don't need to actually prep anything. You can just use the random table in the rule book to say what comes next and apply it to the, modify it to the car chase, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think one of the things we wanted to try and get across is that, you can sit before a session and pre-plan the chase all out, and that's cool. But, when you do your initial movement roll to see who's fast and who's slow, there may not be a chase to start with because you may be faster than the person you're pursuing or the other way around. So a chase doesn't happen. So, tend to think of chases as just something like combat. It might happen or they might not. And so being able to just run a chase, using a very, straightforward system, roll your movement, work out how many actions everyone's got, and then just plot people down, and then, decide, what obstacles and barriers are there, either, narratively, because the kind of setup, or if you're not sure, use a random table. You're into a chase, and without any preparation. So you can do it both ways.
Nice. I hope.
Yeah,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to add a little bit to that, if I may. Just say that if you had been the quarry, you had been the ones running away. Obviously, as keeper, I'm going to ask you, well, where are you going? So you might say, well, we're running across the street into the market, or you might say we're running down the street, or you might say we're going out of this shop and we're running into the shop next door. So, as keeper, particularly if I'm not the one being chased, I don't know where the chase is going to go, right? So I can't really prepare for those eventualities. So it does require the same kind of improvisation that you might see in an interesting combat scene.
Yeah. You explain what you can see, what's in the room or the street. You give the setup, but like you would any other scene, and then it's down to the players to kind of make use of the scenery in that sense. And as Paul said, just like in a combat or just in an interaction with an NPC, you're talking, but suddenly decide, you want to jump out the window, then you can't you? But it comes down to what the story is at this point in time.